Good afternoon. I'd like to call the May 31st special called meeting of the DeKalb Board of Registration and Elections to order. Can we get a reading of the roll, please?
Thank you. Good afternoon, board members. When I call your name, please respond by saying here. Vice Chair Nancy Jester.
Here.
Board Member Anthony Lewis.
Here.
Chairperson Dele Loman Smith.
Here.
Board Member Susan Motter.
Here.
And Board Member Carly Swift. Here. Thank you all. And Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. May I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand and saying aye.
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 Aye. All right, that passes unanimously. Let's go ahead and start public comment. Thanks, Ms. Austin.
Thank you. Public comment.
Point of order. I'm sorry, point of order. Does our, are we moving public comment at a different spot on my agenda?
I printed the agenda before I got on the plane this morning, so I have the same agenda. So we moved public comment after items for decision. Okay.
To do it either way, but.
Okay, that's fine. So I think that we need a motion to open discussion for this item.
So moved.
Second.
So we're moving to, the motion is to certify for discussion. Was that your intent, Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. If I may, before turning it over to Ms. Smith, because of my poor connection previously, I did not get the opportunity to make comments at the end of our last meeting. I'd like to, if there's no objection from my colleagues, make those comments now. I had to write some things down just so I wouldn't forget. But this has obviously been a strenuous, not just week, but several weeks for our staff as they've worked tirelessly to adapt to the various nuances and variables that have come up in this election, both anticipated and unanticipated. And that includes having a brand new director, the new provisions from SB 202, as well as some unanticipated adjustments that had to be made at the last minute due to redistricting, as well as adjustments because we didn't get precinct cards in time. So there was extra work. There was a lot to keep track of, and they rose to the occasion. Along with our poll workers and other participants and volunteers, they rose to the occasion, stepped up, and delivered a successful, well-run, and mostly uneventful election until election night, where we discovered a sort of perfect storm of interrelated issues in District 2, the Commission District 2 Democratic primary that really derailed that success and called into question the outcome of that race. And that has created what we are experiencing now, which is a great deal of difficulty, quite frankly, a nightmare for District 2 voters, for the candidates, for the public, for us as a board. But the individuals who really are taking the brunt of it are the staff in terms of the workload that they've had to pick up to try to get their arms around this issue, as well as assure all of us that we are going to certify an accurate election. And because of the way things have unfolded, it has unfairly impugned their integrity and competence, and to a great extent that has extended to this board as well. And I just have to reiterate that we all are here because we believe in the democratic process. There's nothing glorious about these roles. They're not paid. Before 2020, nobody even really knew who we were or that we existed. These are not things that people do for prestige. This is public service. And we're doing this work because we believe in it and we want to get this right. And as frustrating as it has been for everyone, I don't think that there's anyone who's more disappointed in the turn of events than the members of this board and our employees who worked extremely diligently to pull off a fantastic election. So I wanted to place that in context, and really try to frame what our employees are dealing with and how much this caught us off guard, because there were adjustments all along the way. But even going into election night, the expectation was that we were wrapping up the election and moving to certification. And I hope that as we continue to move through this process, that we can regain the credibility and trust that we have worked so hard for with the public, and that you see the efforts that we're making to get this right and to share as much as we know and can share at the time. So the last thing I just want to say is to just thank some people by name, specifically our director, who is, this is her first election, and she has stepped up. I mean, exactly as we expected. And I, for one, have been continually impressed by how quick a study she is, how she has come up to speed, how she has conducted herself in terms of responsiveness, respect, and kindness towards everyone who's been involved in this process while keeping her eye on the bigger picture. So thank you. Thank you to our staff who have demonstrated this level of dedication for years, and continue to, and are committed to getting this right. Thank you to Eric Burton and the Profile PR team, who are not PIOs. By the way, there are public relations and communications experts and advisors without whom this week would have been much, much, much more difficult. Thank you to the volunteers, adjudicators, and our attorneys, and all of our partners at the county for their support, as well as all of you in the public who engage and pay attention. You are the reason why we're doing this. So I'll conclude my comments there and ask Ms. Smith if you'd like to have the floor and frame this discussion for us so we can move forward. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, Board. And I just wanted also thank everyone for the outpouring of support that we've received during these, last few days. I do want to report that we are not done identifying an accurate tabulation. We've worked diligently. We have worked, throughout the night, long hours, and I cannot provide today an accurate calculation or tabulation of votes. And I do, again, just want to thank you all for supporting us through this effort. But I am not confident that what I have today is what I want to present to this board for certification.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Colleagues? Yes, I'll start with Vice Chair Jester, if that's okay, since we started with Ms. Swift in the previous meeting, and then I'll add you in the queue right after that, Ms. Swift.
Oh, that's fine. I don't mind if Ms. Swift goes first, but I won't take long. First of all, thank you, Director Smith, for your candor. I really appreciate that. That's it. We are where we are, and I really appreciate knowing that from you. That's that means a lot, I think. And the public is hearing this message, and we're hearing this message. And I really appreciate, again, that level of honesty and openness and transparency. That gives me hope that when we meet to certify this, that we'll be in a better place, and we'll be able to have more confidence. So thank you for that. And I appreciate that information and that input. Thank you.
Ms. Swift, you have the floor.
Thank you. I too just echo Vice Chair Jester's comments, and my questions are more about logistics, so this may not be the right time to ask them. We just really need to, my questions are around where are we? I'm not comfortable certifying the election results as they are, which we're not going to be doing today. What is the plan moving forward? And I really want us to think through our various options, because I want just the public to understand that we are all being as thoughtful as we can be to understand where things are and how we move forward. And to that end, I also think that we should have a special call meeting with the Secretary of State's office and with a representative from CES, because there are several questions that they need to answer to help us understand how we got to where we are. So I want to just put that on the record that I would like us to request that at some point, relatively soon. But in the interim, what logistically needs to happen next, and what are our options?
So are you wanting to get a response to that now, or are you waiting to get everyone else's questions on the record? I just want to.
Oh, I was thinking everyone else's questions can go on the record. And if we could just take a note, someone's keeping a note of that. It's a very broad question, but that is sort of where I am.
Okay, thank you. Would anybody else like to be recognized? Ms. Motter, you have the floor.
Okay, hold on. Yep, sorry about that. Ms. Swift and I are coordinating who has the volume up and who does not, because we are in the same room. I will just say that I echo Ms. Swift's comments. Were we presented with what we know now as far as how the events transpired, I'm inclined to vote no on certification because I have far too many questions at this point. So I am stating that for the record. But I am interested in some kind of interface with the state, the Secretary of State's office, CES, to have a more robust discussion with this board as to what happened and what we're going to do going forward as far as processes and procedures, documentation, audit trail, and all that. I'm very much looking forward to some rules or further guidance from the folks that are in charge at the state as to how we move forward. And I really do have the same question as Ms. Swift, what are our options going forward? We may be kicking the can down the road with respect to the certification to a later, but I may find myself in a position with respect to voting yay or nay on the certification. So I am curious about our options going forward, whatever those may be. And so ultimately, I will be looking to our council for more information on that. And my primary reason for stating this publicly is, number one, to get it on the public record, but also to demonstrate to the public the issues that we are grappling with as far as a board and as far as our director and staff. There's a lot of moving pieces here. And ultimately, I believe our is to the public to get this right. So of caution, I'm currently in no vote, and I look forward to seeing more from Director Smith in terms later this week on the counts, and then go from there. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis, did you wish to be recognized?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Loma Smith. I would echo really what my fellow board members are saying here. There are obviously a lot of questions, we could see from our first meeting today, that there are a lot of questions that board members have. I think that even staff has, and that we just need to try to be more clear on that before we can, at least in my position, before I can move forward and say that I have confidence that we are providing accurate results in all of our elections in the county. So I do want to just lend my voice to that. Also, I agree that there are a lot of moving parts and a lot of pieces to this puzzle. And if we can get them in the room together so that we can try to figure out, get a better idea of what's going on, that would be great. And even so, I don't know where we're going to go, but I'm going to continue to beat the drum for an audit. I think that we definitely need to consider having a third-party audit with an organization that specializes in these types of things, just to be sure moving forward that we're in a good position, because, we still have runoffs and then we have a general election. And we want to be as clear as we can, at least I want to be as clear as I can be moving forward to those elections. Thanks.
Thank you. So, Mr. Phillips, would you like to address the earlier question that was raised? I'm not sure that there were further. It's just kind of restatement of the question of our options that you laid out in the earlier meeting, so that we can determine how we want to move forward.
Yes, I heard the questions. The first thing is someone would have to make a formal motion. We need a second and an affirmative vote to take any action. And with respect to the specific question about your options, I really think at this point you're discussing two fundamental options. You can certify the election, and I heard very clearly some of you had voiced an opinion about that. Or you can delay certification to tomorrow. You can announce a specially called meeting, get a notice out, and see what your staff can do to get you ready to certify tomorrow because of the issues with District 2.
So I guess my question, and I'll recognize Ms. Swift, is if we expect to be in an appreciably different position tomorrow than we are this afternoon.
You said Ms. Swift, but are you referring to me?
I meant I'll recognize, I was going to ask my question and then I was acknowledging her hand
Okay, I'm
being
sorry.
raised. That's okay, but you
Can
can
I
go ahead and
respond?
answer.
Yes. If I were to request an action regarding delaying the certification, I would request that we would move the certification date to Friday, this Friday.
Ms. Swift?
Okay, so I guess I want to just push back a bit on what Mr. Phillips raised around the two options. I think there might be a few others that we need to be, at least in my opinion, that exist. So it seems to be a consensus that we're not certifying today. We haven't taken a motion on that, but I'm just reading the room. That's where we're at. If we delay option one, we delay until tomorrow, Friday. I think we all want to understand what information we are going to have that's different. And then I think there's a third option of if we delay certification, is there any interest from this group to do any additional hand counts of any races? And how would that impact our ability to certify? I think we are still missing the logistics piece related to what happens with this delay. And I had a question earlier today in the 12:30 call about the absentee ballots or the mail ballots that need to be prepped. So I guess, do we need to look at court orders to move the runoff date? I think we have some logistics that we just need to try to understand. So I think there might be a few more options out there that we need to really understand from my perspective.
Okay. So we've got in front of us right now, Ms. Smith indicated that she thought perhaps Friday might be a reasonable time frame to reconvene and see if we have better information to certify. We also, of course, in that time frame, need to finalize the hand count we already completed, as well as determine, I'm not sure that we have identified any criteria to determine what other races we would count if we did. I mean, and I imagine that is something that I would like to hear from the director about, if there is some compelling reason or some data or observations that would lead us to look at any additional races beyond this one where there were some very obvious errors and where there had been changes made that contributed to that. So we need to understand if any conditions like that exist elsewhere in this election. And that's what I would want to know before, wanting to encourage additional counts. I'll pause there because I still am trying to kind of organize what we've got before us so that we can put it into a motion, come up with a plan and put it into a motion to vote. Vice Chair, did you want to be recognized?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to go back and maybe it can help with some of that framework too that you're contemplating for our next step. And I think what Ms. Swift outlined, I think was spot on, and I wanted to echo her sentiments. And so I think that helps us with a framework, because I think and colleagues, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's some consensus developing around, we need to hear from some folks at the elections department, state elections department, with regard to the mechanics of what happened. So we do fully understand that. I think that was one of Ms. Swift's points, that we need to have that meeting. Hopefully that'd be a public meeting where we could have that discussion. And so that's one dynamic. That's one thing that needs to happen. And that meeting may very well inform both the director and the board on what sort of spot checks that we could do in other races that might give us more reliance on our processes. And so, well, obviously we're doing this hand count for District 2, but perhaps if we did precinct checks, maybe some of the smaller precincts where it wouldn't be as onerous tabulation issue to hand count. Some precincts are pretty small. They don't have large numbers of turnouts or something. And we could check a precinct or a few precincts rather than a whole race or something, and see if, okay, when we look at these and they're not maybe associated with the District 2 race, that would give us some reliance on, okay, here were the inputs and our outputs were great. They were spot on, that kind of thing. That would, maybe something to that effect. But to Ms. Swift's point, I think we do need that conversation too with some of the state leaders for guidance. So, and I'm certainly, and what I'm hearing from our director is a Friday certification time. So I'm certainly inclined to delay certification until then and make whatever necessary motions at the appropriate time for that. I don't know so much as it needs to be a motion to go down the path that Ms. Swift sort of delineated, but I want to express my wholehearted, enthusiastic agreement with that process. And Ms. Motter, I think, echoed her support for that. And I think I heard that also from Mr. Lewis, as well as he mentioned the audit. And I think an audit could be done when you're just taking these slices out. Maybe some precincts that are easily counted might give us some confidence that we didn't have any kind of defects in any other race other than this District 2 race, and be a pretty easy way to get to that confidence, because it wouldn't have to do a hand count for an entire race, something to that effect. So anyway, those are my thoughts on it. I think there seems to be broad agreement on those things. So, but whenever it's appropriate to make the appropriate motion for a Friday certification meeting, I'm certainly happy to do so. Those are my thoughts, and I yield the chair.
Thank you. Ms. Smith, were you motioning to be recognized? Or you, okay.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to provide a little more, around the next steps internally. And so allowing us to continue to complete our verification of various races. And also, as part of our internal process, we do conduct audits, just as mentioned by Vice Chair. And so giving us the time to do those steps, to take those steps, I think would increase my level of comfort and presenting something later this week for certification. So that's all I wanted to add at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. So I'll build on that and then acknowledge Mr. Lewis. And I'm glad Ms. Smith said that, because I was going to acknowledge the same thing that what the Vice Chair was describing is actually the type of audit that is typically done, where you look at, there's random precincts where you do spot checks. And that's part of the risk limiting audit approach as well that the director had volunteered to participate in already. And I'll note, because of the focus on reconciling the numbers in the District 2 race, they did not have the opportunity to do that they normally would have for some of the other races. So this will be a great opportunity for that. In terms of the meeting with the Secretary of State, certainly I think that's something that we can look into and reach out about. I will not care. Well, I will see what happens with that. From my perspective, based on the conversations, the many, many conversations that I have participated in up until this point, I'm not confident that we are going to be able to construct a complete timeline of how we got here. I think how Ms. Motter characterized this meeting is more in line with what I'm thinking, which is how are we going to go forward? How can we get to November and have assurance that we're not going to be in the same situation because we don't have an audit trail or documentation of, who said what, did what, because things have been verbal. The directions that our staff take are verbal instructions. And so I am not certain that it's going to be the best use of the couple of days we have to try to solve that mystery versus focusing on how we can be confident and give confidence to our public that we're not going to end up here again in November. And of course, we've just got to have the conversation and see if that's something that a meeting or conversation that can take place, especially if it's going to be public. Mr. Lewis, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you. So I think, Ms. Smith, you're referring to by Friday. Tell us, can you give me an idea of what you think you can accomplish
Yes.
by Friday? And I
Yes.
guess, and I want to just say, when the audit I'm talking about, and I completely understand what Ms. Jester and Ms. Lomas-Smith are referring to about a random audit, but what I'm thinking about is going to be a very big undertaking. It's partly the reason I think we should look at trying to use a third party to do it. But I'm not sure how many of the errors that we've seen just in District 2 are filtering into other races. We have a candidate that's telling us that her numbers in the reporting in her race, she believes is off, and we haven't had a chance to investigate that. And, we have other issues to deal with. And so, there's just that possibility that if we try to do random precincts, that we might miss the one that's problematic. Maybe that's just me. But I know that's a big undertaking. So we have to understand the logistics and the cost and everything of doing that. But I definitely think it's something that we need to try to do. Hopefully using a third party would not take away too much from all the work that our staff already has to do. But that said, I just want to get back to Ms. Smith. What do you think you can accomplish between now and Friday?
Thank you. I think what our internal audit and verification process consists of is precinct specific. So we review recaps that we received election night that have the tallies and counts and compare those to our reports that we were producing election night throughout the night. I would also like to put my eyes on things that I have not had time to do throughout this process because of having to pivot to the recount and hand count. And so for my level of comfort there as the director to be met, I feel like there are things that I'm still trying to figure out and get my arms around to be able to share with you where we are with things.
Okay, thank you.
I want to check in with Mr. Phillips, who seemed to sense that I was about to say his name, and ask if it is your advice that we make a motion, or if it's enough to, I mean, we have a motion on the floor. We have a motion on the floor for discussion to certify. So I'm curious if you advise whether we vote on that motion or seek to make another motion, or any thoughts you may have.
Sure. First, let me apologize. I have a chair that rocks, so I am trying to stay balanced and in the camera and not distract you. I want to reiterate, under the law, I see two options for you. You can certify, you can delay certification because of your concerns with the issues in District 2 and the like. My recommendation, I want to make sure is clear, is to schedule recertification as soon as possible. I suggested tomorrow, Thursday morning at the absolute latest. And I remind you, there's a statutory deadline of 5 o'clock today, and we want to get as close to that as we can. So my recommendation is clear, and what you do now with your motions and your vote, I would hope you would consider my recommendation, and you could move forward from there. There's easy process in terms of my recommendation. You could make a substitute motion to delay, and I leave my recommendation with you and offer that as a practical way to address that.
Okay, thank you. Board members, what is your pleasure? Ms. Swift, you're recognized.
Okay. Question, I guess, point of clarification. Mr. Phillips has suggested that one option is to delay certification and have a date. I'm wondering along those lines, but our executive director has asked for Friday. Could we certify races where there's a wide margin, or there isn't any uncontested races while we wait for these other races? I'm just throwing out some options. And then to, I think, Board Member Lewis's question around the other race, I believe that's a candidate that was only one, they were the only candidate in that race. Is that correct?
Yes, she was the only candidate in that race.
Okay.
However, she's concerned with whether or not the recording is correct. So, so that's the concern, is whether or not the recording is correct.
Oh, okay. So could we certify races where there was one candidate? I want us to make some progress, not today. I don't think anyone's comfortable today. But when we reschedule, if we were to reschedule tomorrow, could we certify all races that only had one candidate in the race, and then have go to Friday and get the rest of the results, and then try to certify at that point? I'm just trying to help us come up with the next step.
May I, Madam Chair?
You may.
My recommendation was to reschedule certification, have a substitute motion to delay certification to tomorrow. And Ms. Swift, your direct question would be something we would explore based on the information from staff going into tomorrow. One option could be staff indicates we have a need to further delay certification, or any of the other pieces that you're now asking about, we could explore at that time. And I could answer that question based on the facts in front of us.
Okay. So before we do a substitute motion, I just want to put on the record that I'm out of town because I'm speaking at a conference. So I'll be speaking tomorrow morning and afternoon, and I'm not going to be available to be in a meeting. We can, we have a vice chair. If we have a quorum and that's what the board decides, then I can live with that, but just FYI. Vice Chair?
Thank you. Yes. Okay. And I'm just trying to follow along here. So Mr. Phillips is asking us to reconvene tomorrow, see where we are. Is that what I was hearing? And then like we attempt to do this tomorrow and then see if we need to delay again. Is that what I was hearing?
Yes, I would ask that you do a substitute motion to delay certification to 6 p.m. tomorrow based on the hour right now.
Well, now, what's it, if it's the will of the board to do it Friday pursuant to the discussion we're having, what is that?
Basis of my recommendation, Ms. Jester, is the fact that we had a 5 o'clock deadline today, and we need to get as close to that as possible.
I got you.
And
Okay.
if you schedule for 6 o'clock tomorrow, and we feel a need to delay further and reschedule, we'll visit that at that time. But let's set as a goal getting it done as quickly as possible.
Okay. Well, okay. So I'm in receipt of your advice on that. So that's, I'm not inclined to do that. I'm inclined to do Friday because our director, that's when she feels like she's going to have the information for us at that time. So I'm more inclined to do Friday. The chair won't have any difficulties at that point in time. I mean, I'm fully cognizant of the missing of the deadline here, and you know, we're going to miss the deadline. That's going to happen. So whether we miss the deadline by a day or a couple more days, I think that accuracy in this process and confidence in this process is really important for the public to see. And I would hope that our partners at the state would also be with us on that in that regard. And maybe we can also understand some of these questions. I'm not thinking we're going to get some of the questions that seem to have come up from multiple board members answered by tomorrow either. So I think, you know, I hate missing a deadline. I think that's horrible. But it's, I'd rather have it happen with this election and learn a lot from it, right? And then risk getting something wrong because that means somebody's voice didn't get heard right. That's somebody's vote we're talking about. That's their vote. This is candidates, you know, campaigns and elections. I mean, this is a really big deal. And I feel morally obligated to get it right. I'm sure my colleagues do too. And so I appreciate the advice. I'm inclined to the motion I would support is certainly till Friday because I wouldn't I'd be a no vote certified today. I don't think that would change by tomorrow unless somebody did a whole lot of work from a whole lot of offices that I don't see happening. But that's just my 2 cents. I yield the floor back. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And Mr. Lewis, if you don't mind, I'm going to recognize Ms. Motter first, and she hasn't had the opportunity to speak yet. And then after we check in with Mr. Lewis, we'll see if we're ready for a motion.
Okay. Hold on, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of echo our vice chair. I don't see much happening in 24 hours that's going to change my no vote to a yes vote. I am very much aware that there is a 5 p.m. deadline today. We have been drumming this in all of our heads for some time now. I think what's important here, just as our vice chair has indicated, as well as all of the board members, we want to get this right. We want to make sure we have accurate counts. We owe the public this much. And I think we have to take our executive director, when she says that she needs until Friday, then clearly she needs until Friday to do what she needs to do in terms of her processes and procedures to get herself comfortable with the final count before even presenting it to the board. So if we're talking about moving this certification tomorrow, I don't think I will be moved from my no vote unless there's a magic drawer with all of the information we have been seeking via our numerous questions. If that magic drawer has all the answers, and I just don't see that happening. And I would support moving the certification to Friday. Again, that's what our executive director is asking us for. So I would be in support of that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis, you're recognized.
Thank you. I agree with my fellow board members. Ms. Smith has told us that she needs till Friday, and I trust that her judgment on that. That is when I would want to move our meeting to. I think Ms. Swift may have asked this early on in our earlier meeting today, and I don't know if she got an answer. So Ms. Swift, if I'm wrong, you didn't ask this, let us know. But I think she asked what it would mean if we got to a point where we saw everything and we didn't feel we could certify the election. What does that mean? Can we explain to the public, maybe, and I'm asking our legal department if they can explain to the public what that means.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lewis, please repeat that question. I want to make sure I understand what you're asking me to do.
Yeah, basically, what does it mean if we get to a point that we see everything and we feel we can't certify the election? What does it mean to not certify an election? I just want the public to know what that means.
Mr. Lewis, I'd have to research that.
Okay.
At this point, we are working to identify an accurate result to this election and certify it as quickly as possible.
All right. Anyone else in the law department here that might have an answer? I guess if Mr. Phillips doesn't know, probably nobody. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis, we'll look into that and get back to you.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so it sounds like we've got some consensus. The only thing we have not discussed is a time. And I'm wondering if 5 is a reasonable time.
I can meet at 5.
Okay. I'm seeing Ms. Smith nodded and, okay, all right. So would anyone like to make a motion?
I move that we delay certification until Friday, and that we have a special call meeting on Friday at 5 o'clock.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to delay certification until Friday and reconvene at 5 p.m. Any further discussion?
Can I, friendly amendment? Can we just put in there a caveat, something like if the director would like to meet with us prior to that time and feels that she's bringing the necessary information to us, we can move that meeting up subject to all the proper notifications that need to happen as friendly amendment.
I agree with that amendment.
And I would second the amended motion.
Okay. The amended motion and second are on the floor. Are we ready for the vote? All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand and saying aye.
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 All opposed, please say nay. And that passes unanimously. Okay, so we moved, I don't have the amended agenda in front of me. Did we move public comment to right after this?
Yes, I think we have executive session, but we don't have one, I don't believe. And then
Yeah.
there's public comment is next, followed by board comments.
Okay, great. Can we go ahead and read the rules for public comment? Thank you, Ms. Austin.
Good afternoon. Public comment of 2 minutes or less may be made live via teleconference. For those joining the meeting by telephone, please be aware that your phone number may be displayed to the public for viewing or participating in the online meeting. Citizens who attend the meeting via Zoom link may join the public comment queue by raising their hand in the Zoom application, while citizens who attend the meeting via telephone may join the comment queue by pressing pound followed by the number 2. There will be no comment cards, so when you are called upon, please state your name for the record. Also, please be conscious of speaking time so that everyone has an opportunity to provide input in the allotted time. Abusive, profane, or derogatory language will not be permitted.
Thank you very much, Ms. Austin. Our first request is Dan Weisenhunt. I will ask him to unmute. If he would like to start his video, he may, and please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Dan Wisenhunt. I live at 814 McClendon Drive. I'm the editor and publisher of Debaters.com. I wanted to first thank everybody for your public service. I know it is a tough and unpaid job, and you're under a lot of scrutiny. And I want to thank the election staff for their hard work. The only thing I wanted to say is, regardless of whether you're certifying the results today or not, I think it is imperative you provide a more detailed update about the District 2 race. You did finish the count last night. I think you should provide an update about what that count looks like right now and provide the public with a clear explanation of why you don't believe that count to be accurate. I think that is important. That is the most important thing the board can do right now. You can fully expect a records request from my organization asking for those tallies. I don't think I should have to provide one. I think those tallies should be provided as soon as possible. Thank you.
And thank you for your comments. Our next request is Marcy McCarthy. I'll ask Marcy to unmute. If she'd like to start her video, she may. And please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, everybody. I'm Marcy. I'm the chairman of the DeKalb Republican Party. I reside at 2515 Brookline Circle in Brookhaven, Georgia, 30319. I first want to say thank you to the entire board of directors, as well as Keisha Smith and her team. This was the right decision today to delay the certification. There's a lot of unanswered questions across the board, casting doubt, not just only on the commissioner's race, but several of the other races across the board. So I do agree that we have to ensure fitness, faith, integrity, and trust in our elections. And to do so, we have to get all the clarity and the answers to our questions, because quite frankly, you've seen tirelessly this team working together in a bipartisan manner. There's a lot of unanswered questions, and we absolutely have to ensure that this does not happen in November. But more importantly, we've got to make sure that the candidates that are supposed to be in a runoff are correctly in a runoff. We have to represent all the voters in DeKalb County. So across the board, I want to commend the team here overall working together in such a excellent and forthcoming manner. But again, I think we continue to work together to get those answers to those questions for the public at large and have the transparency and the assurances that this can never happen again. So thank you very much for everybody and everyone that worked tirelessly over the last several weeks, inclusive of this Memorial Day weekend.
And thank you for your comments. Our next request is from Michelle Long Spears. I'll ask Michelle to unmute. If she'd like to start her video, she may. And please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Metelsky. My name is Michelle Long Spears. I'm a candidate for DeKalb County Commission District 2. My address is 1599 Harts Mill Road, Northeast, Brookhaven, Georgia, 30319. Thank you to the BRE staff and volunteers who worked tirelessly and diligently this past holiday weekend on the testing and recount process. I have been fighting along with my campaign team and supporters for a week to preserve the integrity of our elections process. Many of us go to the polls on election day, wait in line, slide the card into the machine, make our candidate selections, and then trust that the system works, ultimately making our vote count. I woke up on Wednesday morning to see that I was third in the race. I was alerted that morning by a member of our team that we received a photo where I had 0 votes at a precinct. So I jumped in my car to go up to Montgomery Elementary School, where I snapped a photo of the ticker tape that also reflected 0 vote. I then drove to my own precinct where my husband and I voted for myself And again, same scenario, 0 votes. At this point, I sounded the alarm and we let the BRE know that there were discrepancies in the election results. In the end, I collected over a dozen photos of precincts where I had 0 votes on election day. It has been a difficult week for so many, the board, staff, D2 voters, myself, and the other 2 candidates. And I am left with so many questions after this meeting. I hope that the county gets to the bottom of this issue very soon to ensure that this does not happen to another candidate in another race ever again, so we can all feel confident in trusting our voting system, and to give candidates enough time to prepare for a runoff coming up quickly 3 weeks from today on January 21st, unless that date is also changed. The campaign trail is a learning process, a discovery process. I learned what DeKalb residents and business owners care about, what concerns them, what they're proud of, and what they're disappointed in. Throughout the campaign, I balanced perseverance and resilience with humor and joy. I do hope that the BRE and Director Smith adopt this same spirit as they continue to peel back the layers of this critical issue so we can certify this election later this week. Thank you very much, and back to you, Mr. Metelsky.
And thank you for your comments. Our next request is from Stephen Binney. I will ask him to unmute. If he would like to start his video, he may. And please state your name and address for the record.
Stephen Binney, unlike some of the other people, I am just a concerned and interested citizen. I live at 1083 Seville Drive, Clarkston, Georgia, 30021. I thank everyone for the work that they have been doing, but I must state that it is unacceptable to be a week after the election and not being able to certify it. It seems that there have been a problem between the state and the county of getting especially District 2 settled out. From this meeting, I haven't been able to tell if indeed all of the votes for District 2 have been hand counted, or if Ms. Smith and her office are just not sure about the result and don't want to present it. I have to echo Mr. Dan Wisenhunt, and that I think that whatever results that you have, Ms. Smith, need to be posted and set to the public. The elections are for the public, and during election night, when there was 10% precincts reporting, or 17, or 53, or like 87, the results were posted. And I believe that you need to post these results. It is something which the public is due to see. It is your responsibility to post them. Just because you're not sure of them is not a reason not to post them. You post them on election night, though you weren't sure that they were accurate. And I think the new results need to be posted. I hope that you're able to come with a solution for this. I would like to suggest, as to think outside the box, if you're not sure of what the results are, that perhaps you allow all 3 candidates to run again in November, and then have the runoff 3 weeks after that. As of right now, whoever is second in the race is going to have 2 weeks, maybe a little bit less, to prepare for the runoff. That's unfair to the public and to the candidate. I don't know if all 3 running in November is even legal. You might want to talk to Terry about that. But it's just an idea outside the box I'd like to throw you away. And while I appreciate all that you do, I must tell you, Ms. Loman-Smith, that between giving a speech and making sure that the voting is right and legal in DeKalb County, if going to the speech is more important to you, you're in the wrong job. Thank you all very much.
And thank you for your comments. Our next request is from Hannah Harris. I will ask Hannah to unmute. I'd like to start video they may, and please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Hannah Harris. My address is 3892 Holy Cross Drive in Decatur, Georgia. I have attended a number of these meetings, and so I want to once again thank the board for being transparent. I think that the outcome in District 2 is just a microcosm of the reason why so many anti-voter bills were passed by the Georgia legislature. I think that this result plays into the prophecy that the Republicans wanted to come to pass. And so I think we're at a moment that sort of magnifies one of my favorite sayings. Some people always tell the truth, some people always lie, and the rest of us pick our moments. I think that Ms. Smith has chosen a moment to tell the truth to the voters of DeKalb. I would have been upset had she come to us and given us numbers that she herself could not stand behind. I'm an accountant, and you don't give people numbers that you cannot defend. If she gave us numbers and then later on we found out those numbers weren't right, it would just be another arrow in somebody's quiver to shoot at this Board of Elections. So I applaud her for not doing that, and I applaud the board for taking whatever steps they need to take to properly certify this election. I refuse to allow people to take away from me what my ancestors fought and died for. I won't let it happen. As a Black person and in a predominantly Black county, I will not sit still and let white supremacists, white nationalists, and people who feel that South DeKalb County in particular does not count. I won't let you impugn the integrity of this board and of the votes of these citizens because of the outcome of one race. Let's do what we need to do to fix this thing, and then let's just get on with saving our democracy. I thank you so much for allowing me to speak. And again, I thank the board, the entire board.
And, oops, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to cut you up. Go ahead and unmute and finish your comment. My apologies.
So I don't know where you cut me off. So
Just at the very end, you were thanking the board.
I just thank the board for what they've done. And like I said, everybody on the board, and I just want DeKalb County to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. And again, my apologies. Our next request is from Victoria Webb. I will ask Victoria to unmute. If she'd like to start her video, she may. And please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, thank you. My name is Victoria Webb. I live at 3137 Rockbridge Road, Avondale Estates. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, great. And like everyone else, I'd like to thank the board for their service. This is a really difficult time. I am in complete agreement with most of the citizens who have already made comments, so I'll keep this brief. I think the public does deserve to know what the count was so far. So I am requesting a copy of the returns that I can either take a photo of, or I can put my email in the chat and you can send me that. But I think this is public information that the Board of Elections should be willing to share with the public. So thank you again, and I hope that you can acquiesce to my request. Thanks.
And thank you for your comments. Our next request is from Jeannie Dufort. I will ask Jeannie to unmute. If she'd like to start her video, she may. And please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Jean Dufort. I live at 1360 Appalachia River Road, Madison, Georgia. I interrupted my holiday weekend to come out as an observer on both Saturday and Sunday. And I want to start by saying how appreciative I am of the effort your election team made to assemble folks on a holiday weekend to a very unexpected circumstance. So kudos to the hardworking election team. I want to comment, though, on the public observation side of this. I've been a public observer in many counties for many different circumstances, including for the hand count audit, which is the closest model, I believe, that this weekend's activities were modeled after. And the observers are there to be able to effectively observe, to be able to see ballots, to be able to see things like boxes, so what precinct batch is being done. And importantly, to observe the entry of those count sheets into, in this case, it was a spreadsheet, I believe. And that didn't happen. Things were structured in a way that prevented effective observation. And my strong conviction is that you shut down the crazy speculation when you're transparent and you allow people to see the truth. There was nothing wrong that was going on as far as I could tell from a distance on Saturday and Sunday, but we couldn't effectively say that because we were kept at the edges of the building. We were prevented from observing the entry into the spreadsheet. So as you move forward, I believe DeKalb County can lead this state in demanding and facilitating effective public observation. And I would encourage you to do that. Thank you.
And thank you so much for your comments. Our next request is from Marilyn Marx. I will ask Marilyn to unmute. If they'd like to start their video, they may, and please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, I'm Marilyn Marx. I'm the Executive Director of Coalition for Good Governance. And I'm speaking on behalf of our members, our voting members in DeKalb County. They're DeKalb County voters, is what I meant to say on that. Thank you for hearing the public's concerns today and your dedication to certifying only accurate results. We greatly appreciate that. We also appreciate that you want to move forward with your duties to certify all of those races accurately that you can as soon as you possibly can. But the evaluation that you all have in front of you is extremely complex. It's quite technical and probably far more complicated than most of the public and perhaps even some of the staff or board realize right now. It is going to be a tough task. It's going to require a lot of deliberation by the board in public meetings, consulting with experts, consulting with the Secretary of State's office, and consulting with each other, and to be able to update the public. Therefore, we would respectfully suggest that you put daily meetings on the public calendar today for the rest of the week. That will permit you to have optimum flexibility in deliberating with each other in public, talking to experts, and in fact, keeping us aware of the progress that you're making, and perhaps permit you to certify elections that you're confident of even before Friday. So that was my suggestion, and thank you very much for hearing us today.
And thank you so much for your comments. Our next request is from Marshall Orson. I will ask him to unmute. He is already on video, and please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. I'm Marshall Orson, 970 Springdale Road, Atlanta, Georgia, 30306, and I am also a candidate in the Commission 2 race. As I mentioned earlier today, one of my concerns is that if there are a series of cascading problems, then we need to figure out how we can be confident of whatever the last step is in the process. It does appear from Director Smith's comment that they are not confident in the last step, that is the hand count of the ballots. And I appreciate that comment, but I do think it is critical for the public's confidence in the entire system to understand the basis of that conclusion. So both without a revelation of what the hand count indicated, whether it is correct or not, something to be determined, and without a revelation of the basis of the conclusion they reached, this leaves so much room for speculation and conclusions that may not be supported by the facts at hand. I think for us to have an effective process and a transparent process, the more information we provide to the public, the better the public will feel about the ultimate outcome. That is the one thing that I would urge. As somebody who has spent a lot of time in public life, as a member of the Board of Education, but also as somebody who has spent a significant amount of time in the communications area, the more we share, the better we can reach a consensus about the information we're looking at and the ultimate conclusions that are reached. Thank you.
And thank you so much for your comments. Last call, #2, or use the raise hand feature if you would like to make a public comment. Madam Chair, that appears to exhaust all of the requests.
Thank you. And thank you again for our commenters, especially those who came back twice. The next item on our agenda is an executive session. I don't believe we have a need for an executive session today. We usually keep those on the agenda just in case. Board members, is there a desire to make board comments? I'll just go around and see. I don't know what order you started in. Vice Chair. So I'm just going to start with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate everyone's words today, from the public comment to the comments from the candidates, and certainly from our law department and especially our executive director. Thank you for the input. I hope that these last two meetings have given the public confidence that there is, desire of the board to accurately understand this race and everything that's transpired, and hopefully we'll be there on Friday. A little behind schedule, but given the issues, that's where we are. Hopefully between now and then, please stay alert. Perhaps there are, as we put in our motion, things we can do in the interim. If we need to call something in advance of Friday, then we can. So we'll all stay alert for that. I look forward to hopefully seeing Ms. Swift's ideas come to fruition, where we can have a robust dialogue with folks at the state level and understand all our interactions there. I appreciate the information and guidance that we've heard today. So, and really thank you to my colleagues. I feel like we have a lot of work to do, but I'm very pleased we're all rowing in the same direction on this. So thank you all. That's my comments. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Ms. Motter.
Sorry, we are still coordinating here. I echo our Vice Chair's comments here. I really want to emphasize to our executive director and our staff that I really appreciate all the work that you've done in the weeks up to the election, as well as the work that you guys have done over the past several days, as well as the volunteers that came in to assist with the effort related to the hand count. It truly takes a village to undertake what was undertaken this holiday weekend. So I thank all of you in that regard. And I look forward to seeing further reports from our executive director, including the counts, and look forward to Friday so that we can revisit this certification. And that's all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis.
Thank you. Just really would reiterate what the other board members are saying, and I'm looking forward to what happens from here and what we learn on Friday. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Swift.
Thanks, Chair Smith. I just wanted to first, co-sign everything that the other members of the board have said, and I wanted to follow up on a couple of things that came up during public comment. I think the first, and this is something Chairwoman Smith has already mentioned, we all recognize the importance of every single vote. If you've been on any of our meetings, we have lively discussions about ensuring that everyone's vote counts. And so I want to be very clear when I say this is also a volunteer role. All of us have jobs and lives that are part of what we're doing here, but they don't stop because of an election. And so many of us spent the weekend, holiday weekend, with the staff going through this process. And I don't think it is a fair assessment of anyone on this board to assume that if they are not able to attend an event or attend a meeting because they have an actual conflict with their life, their family, or their work, that somehow to impugn their character. So that's the first one. And that is just my personal opinion. So I'll leave that there. The second one is we heard a lot of comments about about Executive Director Smith's comments. And I want to applaud her for being honest about the vote and where it is. But I do want to clarify that I do not, what Executive Director Smith was saying was not that she did not there is an issue. She wasn't confident in the hand count. Is that they don't have, I think what she's saying is that the full count is not ready to be released. So there have been a lot of questions about, well, where are we at this point? What's been released is what we have. She's in the process, and maybe it would be helpful at another date that we talk through how a vote is certified. Because I think everyone in the community and in the public may not understand it. There are audits that happen after the tabulation of the votes that Director Smith has not been able to complete. So that is not to say that she doesn't believe that the count is correct, is that she hasn't been able to complete her audits. And so I just want to, again, I think this has been something I want to reiterate, that we are a newish board, and we are here working to make sure that we have an accurate count. No one on this board, no one in the office is working in bad faith or negligently. And that does not always mean that we're going to get it right. And when we don't get it right, we're going to do our best to be honest and transparent about that. Many of the comments that have been made today are fair. We can do a better job of communicating with the public, and we will strive to do that. We need to be thoughtful about rules that we give out when it comes to observation. We can do that. But I just want to, make it very clear that this board and this office is working diligently every day to ensure that we have an election that we can, results that we can be proud of. And so that is why we're going to move the certification, so that we can ensure that we can all stand behind the count. So thank you again. Thank you, the public, for all your comments. Thank you to the board and staff. And with that, I will give back the time to the chair.
Thank you. I will just say that I continue to be proud to serve alongside my colleagues and to work alongside this department. So thank you, everyone. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we signify all in favor? Please signify by saying aye or raising your right hand.
Aye.
It's unanimous, and we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.